I'm someone who believes that we're spiritual beings having a human experience, that we're in a deep evolutionary process right now in terms of consciousness.
Ladies and gentlemen,
you are now about to witness
the journey that is the Life Choices podcast.
yeah!
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode here on the Life Choices podcast. We are welcoming back Jennifer Ally to the podcast. Thank you for coming again.
Thank you so much for having me. I always love being here.
How would you, just for our guests that are viewing them for the first time here, that you would say what it is that you do for a living?
Yeah, so it's interesting because if we're going to give it titles, I'll use something to the effect of inner alignment coaching.
That's what it is.
And I'm an Akashic Records master level practitioner. So I do Akashic Records consulting and healing work. I think the better way to come at it is to say, I'm someone who believes that we're spiritual beings having a human experience, that we're in a deep evolutionary process right now in terms of consciousness, and that it's everybody's right and obligation to live a life that's free, to live a life that feels good and aligned and attuned with their own inner being, and where they're having the most joy possible and making a big positive impact. Like, those are things that I really stand for. And all of my work falls under that umbrella. So I could be giving a talk, I could be on a podcast, I could be coaching, I could be mentoring, teaching, anything. And it's all going to move people in the direction of becoming more of who they really are and up-leveling themselves to let go of the stuff that's holding them back, whether it's unconscious, subconscious, conscious, and really let them embody the truth of who they are at the next highest level.
Perfect. So what I'm going to do to better myself in the situation is I'm going to take everything you just said there. I'm going to make a little clip of it and I'm going to save it into one of my albums on my phone. Yeah. And the next time I meet someone, or next time someone's sitting in that chair that I think definitely should reach out to you and be like, listen, give me 1 second.
Watch this.
This person right here, you need to contact her. And all of her information is just down below in the description. So what I wanted to start off today, and I'm going to be using personal experiences because I think that's the best way to go at it, and instead of asking a random question that might have nothing to pertain to me. So there's something that's happened in my life, 2019. I ended up forgiving the parties that were involved, as well taking a little bit of ownership and accountability on my part, because I may have done something that caused or made that happen in some shape, way, or form. So what I want to ask is this. Even though I've taken the time to forgive the parties of that situation, to this day, 2024, so we're going into 5 years since it happened, randomly, for no reason, something would happen that would trigger a thought that would get me to the thought of that situation, and that would then invoke some anxiety, some depression, some anger, trying to live a life without negative thoughts. So how do I fix that with my unconscious, subconsciousness going on?
Well, that's a
lot. Always when I ask you a question.
There are probably a few answers to that. So, first of all, I would say it sounds like you've done some good forgiveness work, but it's incomplete.
I agree.
If it's still coming to you like that. And there may be something that's residual that's linked to past lives. There might be something that's about cords of attachment, which we have with every soul that we interact with. We can go more in depth on that, but let me get through what comes to my mind. It could be something too about there's something still that's active in your daily living that's helping you to continue to process through whatever the theme of the thing was. And so as you're going about your daily living, some kind of energy comes to you and it flips a switch. It triggers the activation of that thought pattern. So usually when you look at how it's taught that energy works is what you think creates your state of being, and then that creates your actions and that manifests your life. But energy flows both ways. There's something called the law of perpetual transmutation, which means energy flows up just as much as it flows down. You can look at water as a perfect example, right? Water like coagulates in the air and becomes a cloud and then becomes dense enough that it transmutes into water, right? And then that can freeze into ice. But it never just stays on the earth. At some point, it melts, the heat rises, the frequency of the way the molecules move changes, and it goes fast enough that it becomes into vapor and goes back into the sky. So energy is always moving both ways. And so I see it frequently where people have something in their energetic field that gets activated by something in their living of life, or even sometimes it's coming through cosmic activity like solar flares or what's happening with the Earth's resonance, the Earth's frequency, or whatever kind of stuff is going on around us. Can happen something in the collective consciousness, and it triggers an energy in their field, and that then activates the thought pattern. That might be more in depth than you wanted to go, but when I'm listening to you, those are kind of the things that, you know, I would explore and see what is it that's incomplete about your process of forgiveness. Where is the pattern that's related to that experience? Where is it still active in you? And what are other things that are in your environment that simply trigger a similar energy, and then that energy triggers the thinking? Right,
because it's clearly on a loop, right? Even though I've broken some of that circular motion of it, right, by doing the forgiveness, somehow that loop is still there. It just kind of skips for a while and then comes back and then keeps going around in a circle. Is how my brain's interpreting what you're saying.
Yeah, it's sort of like, what's the energy? What's the theme of it?
Right.
And you can look at it, the theme was something about betrayal, or a theme was something about abandonment.
But this particular thing would be betrayal, loss.
So then betrayal and loss are kind of universal, and they're the kinds of patterns that we have to work through a lifetime. So if there's anything that's happening in your experience that triggers the energy of betrayal, and you don't have complete or total resolution, or maybe that particular experience that you had in 2019 was such a big one, that would be a natural one for your thoughts to loop back to.
But why does one's thoughts want to loop back to something that one thinks is such a dramatic event in their life? Like, I don't understand why can't we look back at graduating culinary school at top of my class?
Yeah.
Such a great fucking event, you know? Like, I was number one in my class. My father and mother were at my graduation. You know, the proudness that my father felt, you know, all of that together is a massive, wonderful experience. Yeah. But that's not something that the brain wants to loop back constantly. That's something I just have to think about now, pull that memory out, and speak about it. Where the negative experience, the trauma experience, is on a loop that what you're saying is one must work through sometimes their entire life or lives in order to get resolution or peace of mind from it. Yeah,
so to answer your question about the brain, basically the brain's going to have a negative bias, and it's always trained to look for things in the environment that are threatening. It's a survival thing. And so when you have a traumatic experience, the memory grabs hold of that more quickly and more profoundly, because it wants to protect in the future. It's going to trap that. Don't do this again.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So it's looping it. It's holding on to it so that the brain can remember that if that situation starts coming up again, it can remind you, remember what happened last time that happened. Don't go down that path again. So it's almost a positive at the same time.
It's your human system's way of keeping you safe in a material world.
Okay.
And because we're not really dealing with saber-toothed tigers anymore, the biggest thing that triggers those experiences is social interaction.
Okay. I can understand that because now I'm thinking about like in the past month or two when the brain decided to really focus on that trauma, let's call it, again and again. It is social. It is the social environment. It's the interactions that were happening that would like, oh shit, don't let that happen again. Okay, back up, rethink what you're doing. Did you step left or did you step right? Okay, well, let's strategically think which way to go.
You have a book behind you that explains all of this.
Is this one right here?
Yeah.
Wait. I don't even have to. Where's the wall?
There it is.
This one right
You
here.
got it.
Right here.
Yep.
Yep.
Do you want to pull that out so your viewers know what we're talking about?
This book here is called The Drama-Free Way. And I don't have my glasses on, but I do believe up here it says National Award. It does. I can actually kind of read it. National Award-winning author Jennifer Ally.
And the subtitle is Authentic Thriving in a Chaotic World. And it talks all about what happens in the brain when we get caught into cycles of drama thinking.
It's the next book I'm going to read out of this whole situation.
Yeah, you'll really enjoy it because, I mean, one of the things, the definition of drama in the book is that it's a social survival mechanism
Okay.
that seeks to meet our needs to be seen and heard and to feel like we matter in the absence of having healthy, high-functioning ways of doing it. So when there's any kind of looping that you get stuck in, that's part of a social survival mechanism. And it's the desire to be known, the desire to be understood, right? Because anytime there's a betrayal, there's shaming, there's abandonment, any of that, it eats into our essential self and impacts self-esteem, self-image. It creates belief systems that are maladaptive, that are not true. But it becomes part of a protective mechanism. And then the more we live into that and use that as armor, the more it gets reinforced. So it becomes very cyclical.
I think constantly about like what you do for a living and how it can not just help, but like solve anything that's going on in my brain. So that'll be now the fourth book I'm reading simultaneously. For anyone out there that's tuning in and watching this episode or may have watched another episode or two that Jennifer's been on, it's interesting because if you pay attention to what we're talking about and then you start diving in onto your wonderful new best friend, your cell phone, I have a lot of this stuff that comes up because I do talk about it frequently with other people. And as we know, the phone hears what we're saying and it'll then send you stuff that will be of the same genre. And I love it because my being present is important. We've talked about this before. And being aware of what you're spending your time on, the good and the bad, is also, we all have our indulgences. But I notice that when I think back 2 years ago, what my phone would show me compared to what my phone shows me now. No, because like I'll be fully honest, I'm a lot of TNA. A lot of TNA used to be on my cell phone. You know what I'm saying? A lot of different like swimsuit pages and just stuff that was a waste of my time. It was just tits and ass, and that was it, and there was nothing else because that's where my brain was. Right now, I'm going to see it now because I just said it. No, I won't because my phone's over there. But now, 99% of what comes up on anything, TikTok, Instagram, anything that I'm scrolling when I'm doing research is pretty much this sort of conversation. I get a lot of comedy stuff coming up lately, which is fine because I like to laugh, but a lot of it is different podcasters that do this theme. A lot, you asked me on the last episode if I knew of a gentleman named Joe Dispenza.
Yep.
And I did actually then, and I love the man. I mean, he really does talk some fucking truth, and I love it because not just his stuff, but him on other people's stuff comes up, which is awesome because then I get to see these other people that are also down the same avenue as us. And I love it because I much rather see stuff like that now than 2-3 years ago, what I used to see because of what I was into.
Nice.
Which is amazing. Growth is amazing and I love it. I'm trying to get little tidbits here so that I can move forward in a strategic way in my life because that's where I'm at right now. Think strategically, move strategically, react strategically so that I don't make the same mistakes I've made in my past. And one thing that I notice is, as we all know, money comes and goes. It's like a fucking up and down, unless you're a billionaire, but not there yet. So I notice that when money is tight, I am conservative. I'm aware of it. I move strategically in that fashion. But when more money comes in, I then spend more money knowing that I have more that I can, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yep.
like when I have this much, I'm very, cautious. When I have this much, I know I can come down to here and I'm still safe because I have this area.
So your bandwidth for spending is more expansive when the income is more expansive.
Which it should, and I should
So
be.
there are a couple of ways to think about this, in my opinion. One is you have a comfort zone of your bandwidth for where you hit the edges of spending based on how much you have to work with.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have this much to work with or this much to work with, you're adjusting yourself to stay at the outer edge. So the outer edge is the comfort zone. If you had this much, you're going to stay at the outer edge. You're going to stay at the outer edge. You're going to stay at the outer edge.
Okay.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like you have a certain amount of
Flexibility.
comfort with how much leeway you have.
As you said that just now, I kind of like a thought came in my head. It's like I almost live in the area on the edge of not being okay.
Exactly.
So, okay. So
Exactly. So your income could be here.
Yeah.
You're going to spend here because that puts you at the edge of lack. So the comfort zone is the right on the edge of not being okay.
So my comfort zone is basically living on that edge of oh fuck,
correct. So that's
which
one
I don't
thing.
like.
Yeah, of course.
But clearly I
your
can understand
body's
that.
trained to it.
Here's the question then. How, if anyone out there feels the same way, whether it's to do with money, with the love they give, whatever aspect it is that they feel they're living on that edge, that they strive on that edge of oh fuck, how do you shift that paradigm? How do we create a new paradigm?
So part of it is, I think, having automated things set up so that you build into that threshold a certain scoop of that income that's being put away just for you, specifically for wealth building,
Okay.
and you never touch it.
That's true discipline.
That's, not like, oh, I need a new camera for my podcast. Well, I'll just dip into that.
It's
No.
literally don't touch
It's
it.
you don't touch it. And pick whatever percentage. I like 10%. That's what I do as part of my practice. 10% of every income that comes in, it goes there. Don't touch it. Forget about it. It's there. But I know that's building. And if I really had to, could I? Sure.
If there was an
it's
emergency
still your
situation,
money, right?
yeah,
But the idea is don't touch it.
right.
Right? But then you build that in. So now, whatever that spending is, 10% is always going. Part of that's keeping money in flow,
Okay.
right? So money keeps flowing. And then there's this beautiful reservoir that's your energy. So let's talk about it in terms of energy. So this is your energy. You're this beautiful being that's here on this earth. Part of what you're here for is service. You're given energy. That's life. Now, this life force energy goes into service. You're giving your energy away. The way you receive back is with money. That's what currency is, right? So you're receiving back for the service you provide. Now, this is your energy. It's still your energy. It's come back to you in another form. As soon as you're giving it away for the bills and mom and podcasting equipment and whatever, now you just gave your energy away again. How much did you keep for you? To
None.
resource you and replenish you and fill you up. So it's starting to build a practice of making sure you're resourced, making sure you're well cared for, making sure you're replenished. And money is a particular financial practices. I think it's good to have good financial hygiene. Most people don't talk about this, actually. You think of self-care as like, bubble baths and meditate. Self-care is making sure your bank account's taken care of. That's your energy.
So something I've, and maybe I'm doing it wrong or maybe I'm doing it right, I don't know. So this is going to so much deeper of a conversation.
I love it.
when it comes to that idea, and I agree wholeheartedly with you, and I think that's why I have gotten myself to a point in my life where I am very happy with the individual I look at in the mirror.
Yeah.
When it comes to money, what I've been noticing I'm doing lately is not giving a fuck. I'm not fiscally irresponsible. I always pull the money out for the rent. Mom is always taken care of. That's like my only worry when the jobs aren't there is, do I have enough in the account to transfer over so that her bills, rent, all that sort of stuff is taken care of. Now, I don't like the way the world is in the aspect of we have been trained to go after the Benjamins, and if you don't have the right car, the right shoes, the right whatever, which I don't play into much of that anymore, because everyone knows out here in the Lyfe Choyces land that I drive a beat up truck, and they see that I wear a t-shirt and sweat shorts or sweatpants. I've graduated to full length. And that's it. Like, I'm just not investing much into that. But I've realized that, I'm losing my thought here, but when it comes to money, I'm tired of living my life with the worries and anxieties of tomorrow because of my money. And I've started to, like, especially with the podcast, it's like, you know what? I'm going to be on my deathbed one day, and I'm not going to be saying what if, because I'm trying.
Yeah.
No one that knows me cannot say motherfucker isn't trying. He's putting himself out there. And because of that, I'm sort of like, well, fuck the money. Like, I have a job, so I have money coming in, but I'm like, fuck the money, as in, like, if I want to do something, I'm going to do it. If I need something that could help me in this form, I'm going to spend it. But I still have that feeling of living on that edge of, oh fuck. So it's a kind of like...
Yeah, there are a lot of things here. There are a lot of answers, but let me just say a couple things. One, getting to the point of fuck the money. It's almost you're in an energetic bandwidth of like anger or irritation or fuck it, right? That's few frequency bandwidths up from hopelessness, powerlessness, worthlessness, which is like the lowest frequency there is. So when you're in that place of lack and scarcity and on the edge and anxiety about money, and you get to fuck it, you moved up. So that's a good sign. Now, you don't want to stay there. Want to get to at least neutrality and faith.
I'm hearing you.
In however many years of life that you've been on this planet,
46.
have you ever been left completely abandoned by
Never.
money? It's
Never.
not going to happen.
Never.
And the more you build your self-worth, the more you build your self-love, your self-efficacy, trust in the process and the flow, something's going to happen. I've had months like that where I'm like, well, shit, I don't know how you're going to make it rain, but do it, because I need this, you know? Right? Like, I need it.
I love that. I love that.
Right? I mean, I've had months like that. I'm not going to lie. I'm an entrepreneur, but I've been in business by myself. Nobody supporting me, no corporation, no husband, no parent, nobody,
Nothing.
right?
Yeah.
For 7 years.
Good on you. Congratulations.
You know, since I left my former husband, and who was, you know, taking care of a lot of things. It was the safety net. And in 7 years, I've never not paid rent. In 7 years, I've never not fed myself, not taken care of like the things that needed to be taken care of. Right. So it's leaning into that faith. So that's part of like working your energy up the scale. And it's actually in that book, chapter 3, you've got an energetic state spectrum. So it gives your brain mind something to think about. Where am I at? So, but if you're at fuck it with money, that's a great place, because it's a better place. It's a higher energy than, you know, lack, worthlessness, anxiety, etc. So that's one thing. When you asked your question originally, you know, like, how do you get out of that? I said, I jumped straight into take an action. Make it part of that, whatever you're making, you know, 10%, you stick it away. If you can't start with 10%, start with 5%, start with 2%, start with something. That's action. But you want to make sure that you're getting your energy built towards prosperity consciousness. Prosperity consciousness is really about living in abundance and understanding that abundance is present everywhere. Abundance is law. There's not a shortage of anything on this planet, and nobody's trucking in stuff from other planets.
Not that we know of yet.
Right? Well, they will.
Yeah. I hope so.
They're bringing them to Miami.
I hope
It's in
I hope I'm
Bayside.
here. I hope it's still around when it happens.
Yeah, no. So, you know, there's abundance of everything. And so when you put your conscious attention on anything that's abundant, you're telling the algorithm, the energetic algorithm of your personal matrix in your life, I like abundance. They're like, oh, he's focusing on abundance. He wants more abundance. So think about this. It's what you just said with your phone, right? You're not getting all the TNA this year that you were 2 years ago.
But let's rephrase that. I'm not receiving all the TNA info on the phone that I was a couple years ago. Gotcha. Yeah. That's a whole other topic. Okay.
So, because you started paying attention to other things, and the algorithm's like, oh, he's not interested in that. He's interested in personal growth and, brain technology and whatever, podcasting, right? Let's give him more of that. So when you're sitting there looking at your bank account and looking at your life, like, I don't have enough. How am I going to pay the bills? Like, nothing's working for me. I'm not a billionaire. Life's like, oh, that's what he likes paying attention to. Let's give him more of that. When you start looking at, like, how many threads are on that hat? Like, you can't possibly count how many individual stitches make up this one hat. There's so many. How many leaves are on the one tree outside? And then on that one tree, how many cells make up one leaf? Like, you can just go infinite. How many trillions of cells in your body? Right? You're walking abundance. You can't count that high. You don't have enough time. Yeah. Right? It's like, so starting to look at anything in your life that's abundant, and then life's like, oh,
give them more.
Give them more.
I love this interpretation of what I've been asking. And it's funny because as I'm listening to you, the answers have been abundant from you, but they've been abundantly in front of my face as well, because everything that you're now opening my brain to is literally what I've been seeing through social media, because it's what we do now. We look at our phones and laptops, whatever. But more importantly, it's in my daily life when it comes to, you had mentioned a while ago about faith. It's in my daily life because we've talked about before, daily routine. I thank God for always, and this is literally word for word what I say part of my mornings is, I thank you, God, for always showing up for me financially, emotionally, physically, and mentally.
Beautiful.
And because I say it every day, and I get mad at myself because I'm human on the rare day that I don't, it's true. He always has. He never hasn't. Even in my worst times of thinking back 5 years ago, always showing up for me financially, emotionally, physically, and mentally. And I repeat it every day in hopes that I do receive more of it on a regular basis. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing. It's sort of like, I'm happy with this and give me more. They would seem like they would cancel each other out, but they don't when you stay in a receptive state. And also be clear too about, like, for the more, in order to receive more, you have to expand more. You have to become more. So you provide more service, or you carry more love in your heart. You let go of the things, forgive and let go of the things that keep you closed. And as you open more, people around you feel it. You start to draw in. This is the law of attraction, starts to then draw in, like resonance, like frequencies, or the people that you can serve more, that you can help. And then that generates a greater receiving. So it's it's a process of expansion. Wealth building is a process of expansion. And that's learning, it's personal growth, it's personal development, it's purification, it's forgiveness. It's all of these things that help you become more of who you really are, coming back to where we started, going to that next level of who you're capable of becoming. And I'm assuming, because I have witnessed a little bit of it in my life, without knowing that you're moving up a level, something happens in your vibration or energy. I'm not sure which one you would define it as. Something happens within yourself that opens your mind's eye to the accomplishment of moving up a level, I guess. I'm guessing, because anytime I've stepped away from my everyday and looked within and added new practices to my life, like gratitude lists and just realizing strategically, okay, I really shouldn't be around that person anymore. I should be around these people, or I should become more like this, like this as in who I want to become, and those people will fade away or will come up with me. And I've noticed very recently that I have all the power to do so. And when my action gets put into place, my vibration goes up and I feel different. Like I feel
Yes.
better, even around those individuals that may have made me feel less. Because I've looked inside myself and asked, why do you feel less around these people? What is it? Why is it that you're giving your energy to them and letting them dictate how your energy is returned? And then all of a sudden I'm like, no, fuck that shit. It's my energy.
Good.
I'm going to be this way regardless.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to let you take anything from me.
So you resolve some of your energy leaks.
Okay, love it. See, this is why I like talking to you, because I know that I've done things.
Yeah.
I just don't know what they are.
Yeah, you're plugging the holes.
Okay. And
Yeah,
that's-
ways that you're leaking your energy out.
Yeah.
And those are really, it's never really about another person. It's what the other person represents.
Right.
And when you heal that aspect of yourself, you no longer need to give your power away to them because it doesn't trigger you anymore. It's not something that you need to clean up. You did the cleanup work. You're done.
Like I swept that shit away.
Yeah.
Because I literally, like I was in a situation the other day where, because before I came back, because I was away working, I made decisions. Especially with regards to individuals, and I'm the type of person that, like, I don't care anymore what you think, say, or do about me. I'm still going to be me.
Good for you.
I'm not going to not like you. I'm not going to not be nice to you. I'm not going to not like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm going to be me no matter what. You're going to say so?
Yeah, it's okay also if you don't like someone.
Well, yeah, of
If you-
course, of
you
course.
know?
But if the person hasn't done anything to physically or mentally harm me, you know what I'm saying? Like they haven't, like,
I see what you mean.
yeah, I have my straw that will break the camel's back, of course, but I don't like the word hate. I don't like
I
using
agree.
it. My point is, I made the decision to sweep away all the nonsense, and when I returned and I found myself, which I knew I would be in a situation, what do you call it, a social interaction or a social environment where that situation would come up, I just chose to smile and say, hey, how you doing? I'm great, thank you. And that's it. And then when it came time for the normal stuff that happens, I just stood there smiling, and nothing penetrated.
Good.
I just
Nice.
smiled.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I felt really good about it.
That's like a gold star
Yeah.
moment for sure.
I loved it.
Yeah.
And I've expressed this with like 2 or 3 other people. I have a friend of mine, we call him Sparky. We go to the gym together, and I expressed to him, with regards to certain people, because they're within our circle, how I chose to do that. And I tell you, man, it just felt fucking good,
Yeah.
And I'm just happy like that.
Well, and what I hear you saying is it's authentic. It's not like you put on a smile, just to.
No, I was
just
smiling
to-
because my body was, my physical being was smiling.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was amazing.
Good for you. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I'm sure you've come into contact with many people through your work that have probably done this. Stopping habits that one knows is not good for them, but they still continue to do them. So that could be anything like putting yourself in an environment with other people that bring your energy down, but for some reason those people still feel like they need to be around them.
Let me say something about this idea of like breaking habits and patterns and things like that. It's cyclical. Let's say you're working on yourself and you're trying to make some positive changes, and you move the needle a little bit, but then it feels like you slide back. You never slide back, and life never goes backwards. You might cross paths with similar experiences, but that's there to help you continue to work through whatever the thing is, because every time you're going to look at it and say, oh man, I did that again, but this time I did it a little better. It gives you an opportunity to examine it again. It's not a failure. It's never a failure. As long as you're paying attention, practicing being conscious, asking questions, and using it to fuel yourself to move forward. I have things like that in my life when I'm working on making changes and I had something that I didn't fulfill or I didn't make. I say, you know what, but I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing all of the things that would have really tanked me in the past. They're just not even there anymore. And so, okay, what was it about, this particular thing? Like, why did I let that get interrupted? Or what happened in my day that I didn't prioritize that? How did I, get into this pattern? Whatever it is, it's just keep asking the questions, because here's what happens. When you're living a very third dimensional, just operating in the material world, relatively unconscious life, and you're just going through the motions and believing what society tells you to believe, and doing all the things you were told you should do, right? Life has ups and downs. Your curves goes like this and your energy goes like this, right? Once you start on a conscious pathway, we could call it a pathway of awakening, a pathway of expanding consciousness, of really taking responsibility for who you are, for your energy, for your life, for where you're going, and not giving that power away anymore. Now you're like, okay, I got to look at all this stuff. But what happens, your path doesn't do this anymore. The trajectory shifts like this. So now what used to be ups and downs become more like a staircase. So you might have a little dip down into something that you had done previously, but when you come back out of it, you come up at a higher level, because those things are there to help you work through it more. And then at some point, you just don't repeat them anymore. Things are there until they're not there anymore.
Things are there
until they're just not there anymore. At some point, you're going to be
that.
You're like, what happened? I used to do that thing. Oh my gosh, I don't do that anymore. And sometimes it's almost imperceptible.
What I'm going to take from this whole situation, or this conversation, would be what you said it a moment ago. It's taking the accountability to ask why. And that's something that is not easily done. But when you do it, I think that might be, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think that might be a huge step in how it actually fades away. The mistakes, or the doing the things that hold you back, or whatever. Once you start taking accountability and asking yourself at the end of the day, why did I do that when that happened? Why didn't I do that? Why was I always, then all of a sudden you're more aware when it happens.
Yeah.
And then you're able to not revisit that, not do it again. And then you're able to, like you say, instead of...
It's just moving the needle.
Right.
It's what I want to start something, and I don't know where. I've got so many great things that I want to do, and I don't know how to organize them always. But this is one of those things that's like on the shelf. Someday I want to do the other 1% club. So when you think about like the 1%, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Money.
Right. So I want to do the other 1%, and that's the people who are working on every day. They want to improve 1%. Just 1% better than I was yesterday.
I like that.
That's the other 1% club.
You can put me in that club.
Yeah,
that's the club I'm at. It's crazy, because when I get to sit and talk with you or people like yourself, I thrive on it, because this is the conversation I want to have. I can't have these conversations all the time with everyone that I associate with, because again, it has to be like-minded. You all have to be willing and wanting to ask why, take accountability, and try to elevate yourself. 1% every day, I'd fucking
1% every day. You're just moving the needle. And then, we want to get out of like this punitive self-talk and this chastising self-talk. It's like, you know what? How'd I do today? That's it. How'd I do? And I'm a big believer, you can't screw it up. You can't get it wrong. You're never screwing anything up. You're just making a choice out of the infinite potentials that are part of your soul's agenda and trajectory. You're always working within that bandwidth. You say there's infinite potentials. Well, for me, it's not going to be a fighter pilot. It's not in my interest. I have no desire, right? Because it's not part of my soul's agenda. Right. But anything that I'm drawn to, anything that you're drawn to, anything that you're drawn to, it's part of your soul's agenda. That means it's possible. So you're looking within that bandwidth of possibilities. But as a human being, you're constantly in partnership with your soul and your higher self. Your higher self can't do stuff on earth without your partnership and parentage. You got to partner with your own inner being. And I'm using these terms interchangeably. Inner being, soul, higher self. To me, they're all the same thing. And when you start to really cultivate a conscious relationship with your own soul, that's when you start to look at the things in your life that's like, why am I doing that? That's leaking my energy. That's not working. That's not honoring me. I want to be in alignment with who I am. I want to be the best version of myself.
Absolutely.
I want to be so merged with who I am that nothing shakes me. I love the term Vishen Lakhiani uses. He says you want to be unfuckwithable.
Unfuckwithable. Okay. I was going to say unstoppable, but that's much
Unfuckwithable.
better.
Yeah,
Much
because
better.
it means nothing shakes you.
Yeah.
You know, someone can come in and totally trash everything. You're like, okay, that
Fuck it.
happened.
Yeah.
Okay, now what? And so you have some comments. Let's hear what you have to say. Because I have another comment about your head.
I mean, that's why I love talking with you, because we could literally have a podcast for 12 hours and we wouldn't run
Yeah.
out of shit to talk about.
True.
It's just like, it's just everything encapsulating into it. So it's like being the 1%, like becoming the best version of oneself. That's the chapter of my life that I'm currently in. And that's why I'm drawn to conversations about it. Life is like, my brother used to read these books all the time when I was a kid. Life is like a choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
The book
It
itself
so
is
is.
what every one of you out there is living a choose your own adventure novel. And every day you get to go out there and make the decisions on where you're going to end up at the end of the day. You get to take that time by yourself or with your spouse or whatever your routine is to evaluate the day that you just had. And you get to say whether or not you did good, whether you did bad, where you could have improved, what tomorrow you could do better at. Like, you have this ability to just play the game. Just, that's all it is. This is one massive game. The game is like the board game called Life. And there's no winners, because at the end of it, you die.
Yeah.
That's just a fact, as much as we know.
You know what WIN is? It's an acronym.
Okay.
WIN is what's important now.
Fucking love it. I win every day then.
Yes. If you're
Because-
doing what's important now, sometimes what's important now is just breathe.
Yeah. Another thing that I say every morning is I give thanks to God. I give, part of my gratitude list is giving thanks to God, and I'm very grateful to Him for allowing me to understand the importance of being present, not worrying about what happened yesterday, and stressing less about what might happen tomorrow. Because I'm not at the point in my life where I don't stress at all about tomorrow, but being able to stress less about it because I have no control over it. The only control I have over anything is choosing to enjoy today.
Yes.
And that is how I go about it now. And I tell you, I catch myself so many times driving around in my truck with my puppy Sushi, just smiling.
Yeah.
For no reason, but I'm happy.
Yeah.
And it's a crazy thing for people to hear. I'm happy. And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that is the most important thing. That's your natural state. Joy is the natural state, and everything else, anything that gets in the way of it, really doesn't belong there.
Agreed. Do the things that put joy in your life, and at the end of the day, if you can think of 5 things that you did that day that made you smile,
And find appreciation for the things that you didn't like,
that went wrong.
because appreciation brings you a sense of peace.
Okay,
Appreciation is just finding the value in it. So I have a practice for that. Can I share a couple practices?
Yeah.
Okay, so the practice for that is when I see something that perceivably went wrong, I start saying out loud, "Isn't it great that?" That's the framework. Did I share that with you before? Isn't it great that all of these things worked out to the best possible outcome, even though that's stuff you don't want in your life? It's, it's annoying, or it's bothersome, or it's anxiety provoking, or anything like that. Like, I see a cop, drive around the corner and I get nervous. Like, am I doing everything right?
Yeah, 100%. Right? Did I do something?
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
are they coming back this way?
Yeah, if I'm on the highway and a cop pulls out, I'm like, are they after me?
Am I at the right speed?
Yeah. So I'm very aware of those kinds of things. And so that's the isn't it great practice. So that's one thing for navigating. So you can say, yeah, I'm going to walk in the world and enjoy, and that's a great practice. But when things come into your life that create contrast, now you want to look at what's the blessing in this.
Yes.
And sometimes it takes a while to process the emotion, but I've been doing this for years, and now it's pretty automatic to say, oh, okay, what's the blessing in this? And if something comes up that's uncomfortable, it's like, okay, how can I be an agent of positivity in this experience?
I think it's having true faith, is just knowing that, God's not out there to harm you.
Nobody's out there to harm you.
The willingness and wanting to be good is there. And I love that you bring up that practice, because more and more as the days go on, for me, that's the lifestyle I'm living, is no matter what is happening, where at one time 30 years of age or younger, I would have looked at it completely different and been angry or upset or whatever,
Yeah.
would have just then compiled with more of that
Yes.
negativity, where even when the things happen that I don't want, I look at it and I always say, well, it could be worse. Or
Yeah.
this is saving me from something else.
This is saving me from something else.
That
I
is
love
my
that.
big practice.
And that's part of that shift in consciousness. Sorry.
Yeah.
That shift in consciousness where you're not doing this.
Right.
You're doing this.
Yeah, because I've said it before on the podcast. My buddy TJ and I, we'll hop in the truck, and our street. You've been there because that's where the studio used to be. When you come out of our street to go left is sometimes a wait because the way the traffic
Okay.
is you could sit there for a long, long time, and one would normally get frustrated, but we don't. We make a joke out of it, and we always say, well, saving us from an accident, probably.
Exactly. I always think that way.
And it's great because when you think that way, then you will create more safety in one aspect.
For sure.
Or you just look at life in a better, positive way. And then negative things will just happen less, I think.
Yeah,
They'll still
absolutely.
happen. They'll still happen because that's life.
Because it's life and they're supposed to be there. And a moment ago I said nothing's out there to hurt you. No one wants to hurt you. And I want to qualify that because I think that could be misunderstood or misleading. Are there things in life that create hurt and pain and damage and atrocities and trauma and all of those things? Absolutely. Fundamentally, they are there for, I believe, a benevolent, overarching reason.
Okay.
Because anything that creates trauma, drama, pain, loss, it stretches your consciousness into the deep dark. And the law of polarity says that means you have to have an equal opposite reach into the higher light. So the people who have really gone through great trauma also have the greatest capacity for love, for forgiveness, for appreciation, for gratitude, because their bandwidth has been stretched. If you don't know suffering, how do you know blessings? We know things in this world contextually. There's a contextual framework within which we operate in this world of duality. And it's those negative things that are part of the creation process for the things that we do want, for the things that are good in our lives. You can't have one without the other.
Agreed. The more one has suffered or gone through things, the more they do not want others to have to
The
go
more
through
compassion
them.
you have.
So therefore they want to live their life with more happiness and share that so that people can understand, or they can be at service to others.
Walk alongside them through those pains. I don't think it's anybody's job necessarily to rescue someone else from their pains. Certainly, I think if we can help people, we want to minimize things, of course. But everyone has to go through their own version of hardship.
Right.
It's not life without that. That's what we come here for. As spiritual beings, we're here to grow and expand. And it means you have to have duality. But a lot of people, they're going to go through it anyway. Right? How many times have you seen, teenagers is sort of like a classic example. You tell them, don't do this. What are they going to do? They're going to do it.
They go do it more.
They go do it more, right? It's their journey, right? So, but when they're, at a party and everybody's drunk and they can't get home and the cops showed up and whatever, what do? You go pick them up. You sit them. You be there with them. You go take them home. Let's have a cup of hot cocoa. Let's talk about it. What's your experience like? What's happening for you? Right? You can never rescue anyone.
Well, that's a valid point. It's being at service for people.
Alongside them.
Helping
with
them
them.
get through it by sharing your experience on how you got through
sharing your experience, how you got through, or just be there with them. Witnessing is incredibly powerful. Witnessing without judgment and this is what we call holding space. I'm going to be alongside you while you're in what you're in. And knowing that even if I can do something about it, I'm not going to, because I'm not going to rob you of your experience. Your soul doesn't grow by me swooping in and making things better. A child doesn't learn to walk if every time it wobbles and the mom steadies it. It needs to fall.
You need to fail in order to succeed.
You need to learn to get your own legs under you. You need to grow your own wings.
agree 1,000% on that. That is a huge thing for me right now. I think it's a huge thing for everyone once they're willing to admit it.
Yeah, and I think it's big for a lot of people right now. I want to come back. There was another practice that I wanted to speak to if we still have a couple minutes. I wanted to mention another practice when we said, there's the practice of, isn't it great that? Okay, so that's one thing. I like bookending my day with a couple written practices. So in the morning, I always do my my spoken invocations and prayers and meditation to set my energy for the day. And then I like to write. And in the morning, I like to write questions.
Okay.
And I do constructive questions. They're positively oriented. They're open-ended. And you don't know the answer. And they might be questions about, like this morning, my questions are, how can I be in, greatest service in all of the things that I'm going to do today? On my way walking here, I'm asking questions. What's in the divine highest good for everyone involved in terms of the conversation that Bradley and I are going to have today? So asking questions just
without
puts it
answers.
out to you don't answer it. You don't know the answer. You have to live into the answer. But asking questions in the morning, write them down. What's the most fun that I can have today? What's the highest energy that I can carry with me today? How resilient can I be if something unexpected comes in my day? What's the perfect timing and divine order for the unfoldment of this day? And then you get into your day and somebody calls and says, hey, I can't make it tonight for this thing. Oh, great. Now that time just opened up. There's a portal. Something else is going to fill that in. I wonder what that will be. Be in the curiosity. I love curiosity in the morning. And then at the end of the day, speaking about reflecting back on the day, you look and say, okay, how did it go? What worked? What did I like? What would I have revised? What am I really appreciating? And then that's when I do my gratitude list. And that's when I make a list of something called miracles, magic, and manifestations. And that's looking at the things that were unexpected. Probably I'm grateful for them, but especially the things that were just kind of came out of the blue, or that just worked out, that just fell into place. And I didn't have to effort for it. Things like the other day I was working on some comedy writing at a friend's house and I heard a ding on my phone and I said, I hope somebody sent me money. And I looked at my phone and I just got a Zelle deposit.
There you go.
Yeah, but I didn't know that's what it was when it dinged. Right? But then that would be on that, like, miracles, magic, manifestations, because it was a early payment from a client. I wasn't expecting it. But it was like, oh yeah, I love having that. Yeah. So it's looking at those little things. So I like bookending my days like that. And then at the end of the day is, what did I love about everything that worked and didn't work? And then take that into my sleep state.
Then you're just at ease to go to sleep and have like proper good deep rest.
Yeah, I sleep great.
That's amazing. Amazing. Well, Jennifer, as always, I want to thank you not just for coming on the Life Choices podcast, but I want to thank you for giving us your insight into consciousness, answers and practices to different things to become better, to change your paradigm, and just helping me genuinely live a better life and just having a good conversation with you. I always enjoyed the time we have together. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I hope it's helpful for you. Hope it's helpful for your viewers.
Absolutely.
And I'll look forward to hopefully coming back again.
100%. You're a regular. That's we don't have to have the question of that. You're just a regular on the Life Choices podcast. For all of my lifers out there who keep coming back each and every week, I thank you once again for helping us build our community here at the Life Choices podcast. If you would like to find out how to get a hold of a copy of the book, it's down below in description. All of Jennifer Ally's information, if you want to contact her about finding out how to become more conscious in your own life, please do. Please reach out to her. She's a phenomenal human being. And we will see you here next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Much love, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen,
You are now about
The Journey, Life Choices podcast.